Lads. Today, we're diving deep into the shadowy depths of deception and unleashing a deck that's designed to make your opponents cry tears of frustration. That's right, we're talking about mill deception. Forget about smashing faces, we're here to shred decks. If you're tired of the same old aggro and combo grind, stick around, because this one's gonna be deliciously stupid. So, what's the plan? Simple. We're going to control the board with removal and disruption, while simultaneously forcing our opponent to overdraw and shuffle their key cards back into their deck. This deck is all about denying your opponent resources and watching their carefully crafted strategies crumble, while still maintaining value for the late game to start our offensive. It is worth noting here that cards which are milled, meaning overdrawn or returned to a full hand, they are completely removed from the game, meaning they are not even sent to the void. Our key cards are Ancient Curse. This is essential for stifling opponents with a mana lock and adding an unwanted resource to their hand. They must spend mana to get rid of it. We have Hypno's Puzzle Box. This card puts a creature to sleep, slowing momentum, and also adds 2 cards to both players' hands, pushing them closer to an overdraw. Next we have Ludia's Deception. This is a surprisingly effective hand control tool and shuffle engine. This allows knowledge of your opponent's hand, and you get to shuffle 1 card back into their deck. Both players then draw 1 card. This is excellent to use when their hand is full, as they have a chance of overdrawing a potentially important card. Now we have the best card in the game, Grand Vault. This is a good way to stall fast decks and also make them draw 2 cards. It has high stats, though it cannot attack. Deception Unshrouded. This card puts all creatures to sleep, but the main reason this card is needed is that it changes your god power to Larceny. This literally adds a random card from your opponent's domain to your hand, meaning infinite value. It also summons a 1/1 creature because why not? Finally we have a Toast the Peace. This sends all creatures on the board to their owner's hand. So if your opponent has a full board, you can potentially obliterate many cards, including the next card your opponent is waiting to draw. Now, a few tips for playing this deck. From my time playing Mill Deception, I have found Flip to be the best god power in all scenarios. This helps us shuffle our hand, finding the necessary cards needed to slow down and frustrate our opponent, particularly in the early game. Later in the video, you will see we can actually change our god power during the game. Depending on what deck you are facing, you may want completely different cards in the mulligan phase. For example, if you are facing Aggro War, you will try for Grand Vault or Toast the Peace. If you are facing zombies, you'll be aiming for Counterfeit to steal their Necroscepter. You must understand your opponent's deck so you know which key cards to draw and which to shuffle. If you use GU Versus, this is very easy. If not, you have to determine this through your opponent's choice of god power and the first few cards they play. This deck is not about quick wins, it's about slowly grinding your opponent down. Look for mistakes and miscalculations in your opponent's plays. A lot of players do not know how to play versus Mill Deception correctly, so you must use this to your advantage. Ideally, you want to set up a combo. For example, you have a made mark on the board, being ignored by your opponent because of its 0 strength. In your hand, you have Hypno's Puzzle Box and Stack the Deck. You will play the puzzle box onto your opponent's creature, putting it to sleep, and adding 2 cards to their hand. You will then play Stack the Deck to draw 3 more cards and apply the +1 mana cost to the drawn cards for your opponent. Then you will crash the made mark into your opponent's creature, forcing 2 more cards being drawn and hopefully milled into oblivion. Now, probably the most advanced tip is be ready to adapt your strategy based on your opponent's deck and your own card draw. Unless you are finished very quickly, we always stand a chance to win the game. Alright, let's jump into a match. We're up against Deception, a sneaky counter threat. In the early game, our priority is hand and value management. We need to keep the board clear and ensure we draw our good cards. Seeing as they have chosen flip, we can only guess maybe they are playing Mayday, Draw, or Control Deception. At the moment, we still don't know what our opponent is playing, so we use this opportunity to start the hand disruption by playing our Ancient Curse. Our opponent has played a Made Mark. This means he is either Cobra Scepter or Mill Deception like us. Let's fucking go. I play my Grand Vault to protect my face and give him a target to destroy the Made Mark and start the drawing for both of us. As expected, he crashed into the vault and we both draw. Our opponent now will waste a mana pip and a turn and play the mana bind that was in his hand. Next turn I will play my second Grand Vault. Our opponent used another mana pip and played the card Stack the Deck. We both draw 3 cards and notice my cards are 1 extra mana. We don't really mind being overdrawn because we have our main card, Deception Unshrouded, already in our hand. Since both of our hands are full, I will play Ludia's Deception. I will be able to see what exactly is in my opponent's hand and shuffle a card back into their deck, and hopefully we can make them overdraw it. Divertimento draws us 2 cards and shuffles 2 into our deck. For our opponent, it shuffles 2 random cards into their deck and draws 3, again giving us an opportunity to mill them. Next, I remove Deuteria from play by using Trapdoor. Our opponent overdraws a Grand Vault and plays a Carriage to the board. I play Hypno's Puzzle Box to sleep the creature and to fill up our opponent's hand. I will use Ludia's Deception to view my opponent's hand. When looking at my opponent's hand, nothing immediately jumps to mind as a threat. I remove Charm because it's the biggest inconvenience. Our opponent has a nice turn. They summon a Grand Vault and sacrifice it with Path of Deception. They follow that up with playing Made Mark and again using Path of Deception. This draws me 4 cards and overdraws quite a bit. For me, I'm not worried. As mentioned earlier, I have my most important card already in my hand. For my next turn, I just shuffle my hand, I crash my Unexpected Gift to remove it from the board, and I play a Made Mark. Our opponent overdraws a Cutthroat Insight, they play a Relic, and they play Sleep Dart on our Made Mark, meaning he will draw 2 for both of us at the end of the next turn. I play Divine Coronet and Unexpected Gift. My opponent plays Toast to Peace, returning all my cards to my hand, and as a result, I overdraw my Divine Coronet. I'm not worried though, because this turn I play my favourite card, Deception Unshrouded. My GP becomes infinite value, and there's not much my opponent can do to make me run out of resources. Okay, now the real fun begins. Look at their hand. They're starting to get anxious. Every card they draw is a potential loss. We've effectively stalled their aggression and disrupted their strategy. Now we just have to avoid mistakes and let them run out of steam. For the rest of this game, it's sort of autopilot. We play some cards and we make sure we just constantly generate value. The only threat that we have from our opponent is charm, but even this is not much of an issue. Notice here how I have run out of cards in my deck, but I am still nowhere near out of value and out of resources. Our opponent seems to have our Divine Coronet. They summon the Coronet, and they actually high roll Eris. But not a worry, we have an answer for that in our hand. We are still generating a lot of value with larceny. We have even forced our opponent to discard a card from their hand. Our opponent is running low on cards, so victory seems to be just a matter of time. Our opponent is playing multiple Orpheo's Guile, a very strong card, which is also generating him some value. Still nothing to worry about, we will still outvalue him in the long game. I think our opponent is starting to realize that we have a lot more juice than he does. Each of his turns is taking longer, and I think he's starting to doubt himself. Yep, our opponent has given up. Easier win for our superior deck. Lads. So there you have it, Mill Deception. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe for more Gods Unchained content. Leave a comment below with your thoughts on Mill Deception. Would you like to see part 2? What other decks would you like to see me spotlight? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.